Through the Gates is produced under the support of the Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management to enhance, promote, and defend the North American model of wildlife conservation and responsible wildlife management. That's our mission. We're engaged in fighting at every level so that wildlife management remains science-based and conservation continues to work for our wildlife. To learn more and join the movement, visit SaveTheHuntColorado.com. The North American model of wildlife conservation is the greatest conservation model in the world. It's a success story that should be shared and celebrated because everybody is a part of it. So we're in for another round of Through the Gates to Save the Hunt, and we're filming here today with Bullfighter. Are you a world champion? You know, or something?
Well, not really. I made the final. So in a team sport, I guess world championship is qualifying for the world finals. So
Yeah.
Worked 17 PBR world finals and I believe 3 national finals rodeos over my career.
So Shorty Gorham.
Yep.
And it's the Shorty's not your real name.
Seth is my real name, but if we were walking down the street and you hollered Seth, I probably wouldn't look. I've been called Shorty since I was.
But you're not short.
I've got a bunch of smart-ass remarks for that. I'll keep them for myself until we're in the bar one day.
So appreciate you coming up. Appreciate you taking the time. You made the drive from New Mexico. You can tell you're on the ranch down there. You pulled in a great big dually pickup down below, and you got feed tubs in the back, and you're changing clothes in the back like you're going to a rodeo or something.
You know, old habits die hard.
Yeah?
Yeah, but no, glad to be up here. I can tell you, though, dually is not the greatest vehicle to drive around Evergreen, Colorado.
Yeah, the parking is limited up here, isn't it?
It is.
That's for darn sure. So you're living where now?
I'm living just outside of Folsom, New Mexico, right on the Colorado line, Trinchera Pass, if people know where that. If you don't know where Folsom is, it's just about 30 miles east of Raton, New Mexico, or southeast of Trinidad, Colorado.
So give us a little bit of background about who, when, why, what, where, and how, and we'll get into some discussions about some other activities you're involved in as well.
Yeah, so growing up, I grew up a little farm kid, you know, and family did multiple equestrian events, roping, team pinning, youth rodeo, and then grew up there, moved to a big ranch up in Orange County, California. Believe it or not, it was 40,000 acres at the time, right in the middle of Orange County, and grew up ranching really. And then as I got older, started fighting bulls, and my bullfighting career, I was still roping and that, but my bullfighting career kind of took off. And so I went and made a living at it for 27 years and just recently retired here a few years ago from the rodeo game. Still play around and rope a little bit, and we still run some cattle on the ranch I'm taking care of now. But in the meantime, during all that stuff, we were having some calf killing by mountain lions, and called a buddy I knew that had some hounds, and he came and helped us take care of the problem, and I was hooked and been a houndsman ever since. So been running hounds. I think I figured about same as I fought bulls, about 26, 27 years now.
Really?
So, yeah.
What the hell would cause you, and I rodeoed as a kid. I quit riding when I was 20, 21 years old. I was pretty good as a kid, but then I got long and lengthy, and then I wasn't any good at all.
Yeah, it doesn't
the
help.
center of balance. I mean, you know, you talk about vertigo just because you got on something and you didn't have any balance. What the hell would cause you to get into fighting bulls?
Too lazy to work and too scared to steal, Dan. Pretty simple.
Did you do it on a bet, or you just said,
No,
I think I could do that?
No, actually growing up at a really, really young age, at 5 or 6 years old, I had a friend that, and you know, back in those days, our parents didn't worry about us near as much, but I had a friend that his father ran a feed yard down in the Pearl Valley, down West Southern California, near the border. And they would let me go with him and check cattle on the weekends. And he was kind of my childhood idol, and quite a bit older than I was, but he ended up moving from California to Texas to become a bullfighter. What made him decide to do that, I don't know. But from that day on, that was all I wanted to do. Yeah, you know, if you go back, my mom still got papers from real, you know, 3rd grade where, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was writing, I was going to be a bullfighter and this and that and da-da-da, and it just never left me.
So when's the first time you actually did it?
I think I was like 13 at a practice pen, and we had some friends that were up there to ride broncs, but going back even younger, earlier than that, we had a neighbor. She was a rodeo secretary, so my parents would let me, when we had a weekend that we weren't at a team pen or a team roping, they'd let me go with her to the rodeo, and I'd go hang out with the bullfighters and the rodeo clowns and all that stuff. So I got to know some of the stock contractors through her and whatnot. So anyways, long story short, we went up to practice at Winchester, California. Smiley Moreno, he just passed away not too long ago. But anyways, he let me get in there and fight a few bulls while my friends were practicing bronc riding for high school rodeo, and never forget the first bull out. He told me turn him back to the left, and said, you really got to get a hold of him and grab him by the ear. And big old Charolais cross muley, and bull made about 2 jumps out there, grabbed him by the ear and stayed in the circle and kept him turning back. And Smiley told me, he said, don't forget me when you're famous, kid. And I'll still remember that to this day, but that feeling never left until here the last few years.
You don't want to try to outrun them anymore?
No, I enjoyed it. Even at the end, I enjoyed it. But the travel just sucked. You're in an airport every weekend. Oftentimes you're in 4 or 5 airports a weekend, and rude people and just hotel rooms. And we used to joke, because I always roomed with a guy, an announcer, and when I was working the PBRs, and he loved to watch that show Lock Up Raw, where those guys are in prison. And finally dawned on me one day, I said, Clint, now I know why you like this show so much. I said, we're in the same situation. We're locked in a damn hotel room every weekend. It's just like a jail cell. You don't get, it's a lot more comfortable, but yeah, the travel kind of started wearing on me, and I was ready to do something else.
So did you have aspirations to, and I guess explain a little bit about the bullfighting side of it, because you talked about the teams or the championship type things.
Yeah.
It's becoming a sport in itself to some degree, correct?
Yeah, and generally, I never did any of that competition bullfighting, like we call freestyle bullfighting, which is one man, one bull. You're out there for a minute and a half and see how close you can get to the bull, how well you can maneuver. It's really exciting to watch, but I was always of the mindset that if I was going to get my ass hooked, it wasn't going to be for money. It was going to be to save somebody else from getting theirs. And so it's probably easier for people that don't know what bullfighting is to think of a rodeo clown. Over time, back in the day, you had to fight bulls, you had to protect the cowboys, which is bullfighting, and you had to entertain the crowd to get a job. Over time, it's kind of became 2 specialized deals. So you have a guy that entertains the crowd, and then you have the bullfighters, which are protecting the bull riders, and that's what I did.
And does that guy get the notoriety, the fame, as much as what the clown does anymore? I mean, do people know who bullfighters are?
They do, and we were really, really lucky. I hadn't been fighting bulls in the PBR too terribly long, and the TV broadcast started doing a deal. First, they started, Rob Smets did it, and then Joe Baumgartner, and it ended up I was a guy. But they would do a pick of the pen or a matchup. So the commentators would come down to the bullfighter on the floor who was mic'd and say, what's your pick of the pen? Who do you think's going to win the round tonight? And you'd kind of explain the matchup, what the bull was going to do, why you should fit the guy, how many points you thought he was going to be, that kind of stuff. Well, that was all we did, was maybe 2 little picks a night. And then they actually changed some stuff in the telecast booth. They used to have like 3 guys in the telecast booth, and so when you weren't doing that pick, you didn't listen to the telecast. It was just too much talking, and there's a lot of stuff going on the ground where you need to be talking to your partners and whatnot. And anyways, they made the change. They went from 3 guys in the booth just to 2 guys in the booth, and it was a lot clearer. And so I listened to the telecast, and we were in the TV meeting the next day, and And we were talking about it, the producers and everything. And I said, man, guys, that sounded great. I said, I never listened because it was too much mumbo jumbo, but I said, I listened to the whole telecast last night. And I said, you guys really did a great job. And Ty Murray said, you mean you listened to the whole thing? I said, yeah. He said, do you think if I came to you while you were on the floor that you could just answer me at any point in time? I said, yeah, it should be doable. And so we tried it that night, and it worked great. And, there would be...
So you were in a headset?
Yeah, we're in an earpiece and a microphone, and there would be a wreck or something like that, and Ty would ask me about it. And they would replay it, and I could walk them through the replay and explain to them what the bullfighters were doing, what we were seeing, why we did what we did. And really it took the bullfighting industry from kind of a lot of people, especially here in big cities all across the country. Not of them were aware of what rodeo is and stuff. They just thought you were three crazy guys out there running around. They didn't think there was a strategy. They didn't think, that you guys were talking on the ground down there and making plans and whatever. And it brought them to realize that we weren't just a bunch of dummies. We were actually professional athletes that had a really serious job and took it serious. And so because of that, I think the bullfighters and it's not my fault. I was just the guy that was in that position at the time they started doing it. But I think it took it to where people now know what a bullfighter is, and they know the importance of it, and the notoriety's there.
So I'm going to read a little bit of this is an AI overview of Shorty Gorham.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, so if
this might be scary.
If they lie about it. So it says, Shorty Gorham is a professional bullfighter known for his work with the Professional Bull Riders, which is PBR. He is highly respected for his ability to protect bucked riders, often described as a human shield between the bull and the fallen rider. He's also involved in freestyle bullfighting events and is a ranch manager. In January 2025, he was inducted into the Bull Riding Hall of Fame in the Bullfighters category. And it says you can watch videos of Shorty Gorham and learn about him. It's a pretty good, accurate description.
Yeah, pretty accurate.
Would that be on your tombstone, or would it be something else on there?
I hope there's something other than that on there, but no. And in the freestyle bullfighting, I was producing some freestyle bullfighting at the time. Got out of that business, but
So did you do mostly stuff? Was it all PBR, or was it PRCA and then PBR, or what was it?
It started out in the PRCA, and then eventually made it into the PBR, and I still love and appreciate both. And that's one thing I think a lot of people think there's competition between the two. I don't think there is. It's most of us came up through the PRCA and made it in there, but yeah, I did both, and then I got to where I was gone so much. Like 2006, I guess 2004 or 5-ish, 6, I was gone so damn much that by September I was just grouchy. You're tired because you were gone every damn weekend, and I thought, you know what, I need to just pick one.
But that's not just the weekend deal either. I mean, it happens anymore during the week, or
a lot of your rodeos and some of the bull ridings are nowadays. But it was I just thought, you know what, and back then we were just doing the PBRs. I think we were having like 30 to 32 events a year.
Really?
So yeah, so you were still gone 30 weekends out of the year. I didn't want to be gone any more than that,
Which we had Cody Loester on. Cody's a good friend of ours and United Houndsman vice president.
Yep.
He was on, and he was on the Mountainside podcast with Bobby.
Yeah.
He's the manager now for the Mavericks.
New York.
Yeah.
Well, he's a coach.
He's
coach. Chris Pantani is a manager. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, he's on the road.
Yeah.
Maybe not more now than what he was when he was actually riding.
Yeah.
But that's a hard life, just being on the road, because.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to synthesize this, but correct me if I'm wrong, or kick me or slap me or something. But if you had a 2-day event, let's say 2-night event, and you had 20 riders a night, maybe 30.
We would have 30 a night.
30 a
night. Yeah, and then on your short round days, it was 45. But back in like in 04, 5, 6, like that, we had 45 a night, and then on your short round night, we had 60.
Really?
Yeah, it was when you got home, you were tired.
So a guy being on for 8 seconds or off for 2 seconds or whatever, then you're in the arena, but you're in the arena for several hours at a time, one after another, just repetitive.
Yep. Yep.
And so typically there was what, 3 or 4 bullfighters?
Yeah, there was, with the PBR, there was always, from the time I got there was always 3 bullfighters.
And you rely on each other, you become a team.
You become a team. And back in the day, right before I got there, 2 guys would work the bull, and 1 guy would sit out. And then they would rotate the next bull. And so you'd work 2 bulls, sit out 1. And then when I got there, a guy by the name of Joe Baumgartner, greatest bullfighter that's ever lived, in my opinion, he said, why is that 3rd guy sitting out? Like, I'm just going to float around there, and if you guys need help, I'll help. If not, which eventually turned into a 3-man system that they go with now. And most of my career, we worked a 3-man system. It's so much better because you're just covering more of the field. So, with 2 guys, there's always a chance that there's a hole that one of you can't get to. 3 guys, you got it covered. You just form a triangle, and no matter where that guy gets bucked off, somebody's got a chance to help you.
So did you ever ride bulls?
Just screwing around in the practice pen a few times, just out of fun. But I never had the desire to ride bulls. No,
you just wanted to get on the ground.
Yeah.
But you became good friends with a lot of top bullfighters and bull riders both.
Oh yeah, I mean you're living with them basically. Like if you had a 2-day event, you're around those guys for 4 days. If it was a Saturday Sunday event, you're flying in Friday night, and then you're there Saturday Sunday, and most time you couldn't get out on a Sunday because the event went. By the time the event was over, the flights were all gone. So you flew out Monday. So you were with those guys 3 or 4 days a week. So they became as much your family as...
For 30 some odd weeks out of the year.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but between shows, between events, you'd go home.
Yeah.
And you'd have 2 or 3 days at home, and then you turn around and have to be somewhere else.
Yep. I'd go home, hunt the dogs for 3 days, and go to the next one. It's funny, we were talking about Cody Lowery. I'll go back to that. Yeah. Cody's a vice president of United Houndsman, Colorado, and I actually sold Cody his first hound dogs.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he went on a couple of lion hunts, as he told you, and I listened to the podcast, and then I had a few too many dogs, and
like some houndsmen do.
Yeah, well, you're always raising pups, but I'll sell some older dogs or whatever. And anyways, I had a couple of really, really nice older females, and so I put on Facebook or whatever that I was going to sell them dogs, and my phone rang immediately, and it was Cody, and I said, well, yeah, let's do this, but I said, you got to let me do you a favor. I said, I've got a couple young dogs, let me hunt them just a little bit longer, get a good handle on them, and get them to where they're kind of broke. And then you need to buy those 2 old females and those 2 pups. And then you'll be able to just go on with it, and you'll never have to look back. And that's exactly what he did, and he didn't look back. And I actually told him, first year he hunted, he calls me or whatever, hey, I caught a lion. Next day, hey, I caught a lion. Hey, I caught, and it just kept going. I said, Cody, are you writing all this stuff down? And he said, no. I said, well, you need to. I said, because it's going to be important to you someday. But so he started writing it down. He caught a bobcat at some point, but he called me last day of the season. And when you talk about a world champion in anything, they have one gear, and it's to be the best.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't know any other way. But anyways, he called me the last day of the season, and he said, hey, last day of the season, I just caught my 25th lion.
For the year?
For the year. I said, are you kidding me? I said, I don't know of anyone that's ever done that in their first season of owning dogs. Like, that was the first time he'd ever hunted his own dogs. And I said, man, congratulations. About 2 hours later, I get a text. He said, scratch the last, found a track on the way out, make it 26.
He just needed to turn around and do his best at every single thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's one thing that when we were dealing the campaign last year with Proposition 127, you could just tell that he was the guy to have on your side.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want him against you. And
no.
And it's interesting. I think, was it 2007 or 2009 he was world champion?
2009.
2009. Yeah. And you could see the determination and dedication in him.
Yeah.
Well, going back to when I was a kid, there was a determination and dedication of a few individuals, but I was never part of anything at a higher level to turn around and watch it. But there's a lot of guys that live, eat, breathe, sleep, drink, every single thing about a particular side of rodeo.
Yeah.
Not just the whole side of rodeo,
Right.
but a particular side of rodeo that they come in, they do that, and they're out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the rodeo culture itself is something to where because it's more independent, but
Right.
you rely on people to help you through the process, even though it's a singular sport. It's
Right.
one man game.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you can compare that adrenaline to that you've done that you could compare it to? I mean, skydiving or, swallowing swords or flame throwing or.
No, I never did skydiving. And the funny thing is, on the adrenaline topic, a lot of people, they're like, "Oh, you must be an adrenaline junkie." Not at all. Like, I'm not. I just loved what I did and loved being around the bulls and loved kind of controlling an uncontrollable situation. And I love the fact that people were going home to their family that probably wouldn't have if I wouldn't have been there. It'd be the same thing as, in the military, you're not fighting for yourself or the cause. You're fighting for the guy on your right and on your left, and it's the same principle. Or law enforcement officer, or paramedic. Or
You got a job to do
whatever.
for that particular time.
Yeah,
And it's fast and furious.
and it saves someone's ass. They don't. There's no in that world. There's no politics because they don't care how good a guy you are or whatever. They care about who's going to save their butt. That's all. And so, but the adrenaline, like the adrenaline never hit until afterwards because you've got to be focused on what you're doing right now. And you got to control your mind because if you let that adrenaline dump hit early, your mind gets going too fast. And when it gets going too fast, you can't think clearly.
Yeah.
So you had to really control your mind, which I love that part of it too. And then afterwards, you might go, God dang, that could have been bad. And that's when the adrenaline hits. And
What was I thinking?
but even at that, like, I remember the Fitbit watches?
Oh, yeah.
So I
Actually,
got
my wife has one now.
Does she? Okay, well, like, I got one, and so I started fighting bulls with it, and just out of curiosity to see how high my heart rate would go. And we'd have a hang up or something like that, and as soon as it was over, I'd look down, and my heart would be like 89. Just, there's no big spike, no nothing. It was
Really?
but yeah, I mean, that's the whole hardest thing about, I think, and I always draw a parallel between us and the military, like, especially your special forces guys. When they're going into a room, they don't know who the hell's behind that door, but whoever or whatever it is that probably wants to kill them, they got to stay calm and think clear. Like, that's why they practice so damn much, is to stay calm and keep clear. And it's the same riding a bull or fighting a bull.
And for you to practice on a bull, you got to practice with bulls.
Correct.
Unless you got one of your buddies drunk and he's chasing you around with horns on his head or something.
Right.
But I mean, that's you're practicing with a bull.
Mm-hmm.
So just the practice side of it is dangerous. I mean, you have to be in shape. You're an athlete.
Yeah. You have to be in shape. It helps to be quick-footed. But really the art of it comes from reading the bull and reading the situation. Like I always said, when I'm dialed in and things are clicking, I could walk into it. Like literally walk out there.
Really?
Just a fast walk, and things are clicking smooth. If you see us running a bunch, we're screwed up. There's, and that's the neat thing about a three-man system is usually if one guy's having a bad day, the other two aren't. And if they, if you are having a bad day, then it's their job to get you right, and encourage you and pump you up and get your mind right. And then it starts clicking again. But speaking of practicing with bulls, this is how it works. Like I told the guy that first taught me, Don Freeoff, I told him one time, I said, Don, I only entered 2 freestyle bullfights in my life. And so the first one, I said, Don, I want to jump this bull. Like, what can you tell me? He said, well, just run at him and jump. And if you land on his head when you're coming down, you jump too early. If you hit his head going up, you jump too late. Simple as that. It's just trial and error.
You'll learn or you won't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you're gonna be dumb, you better be tough.
Did you get hurt in your career?
Not much. My broken bones and stuff like that. Like broke ribs, broke a lot of bones, but never really had to get too many procedures done. I've only actually had to have one surgery, and I shattered my left shoulder. And I think it was 2006 or something like that. It was who was the football player that broke his leg so bad back in the day, and it was on TV? Joe Theismann.
Yeah.
It was one of those moments. It was televised, and it was ugly. Like, bull hooked me and threw me up in the air. He was a really notorious bull. He was bad. Like, and I was young and cocky, and they were telling me like, "Hey, this bull's bad." Like, but I kind of knew what he did, and he was just smart. He knew if that guy was on the ground, he could go like he was going to come to you, and then as soon as you made your move, he knew that guy was still on the ground. He'd leave you and go hook the bull rider. I thought, well, shit, I'll just wait on him a long time. And I was athletic then, you know.
I was athletic then.
So I just waited on him for a long time, and I got my hands on his head and just started letting him push me, and was running backwards, and he's just pushing and pushing. He got lucky and got his horn underneath my vest and pulled me over the top of his head and threw me in the air. And I was going backwards, and I ended up upside down. And you're never supposed to put your arms out, but I was looking at the ground, and the angle I'm coming, I'm like, I'm going to break my neck. So I put my arm out. And the backside of my left arm, my left hand, ended up over my head, and the backside of my hand ended up on my right butt cheek, and he just heard everything just explode in there. It was gross, but
it was gross.
I came out,
especially for you.
They were like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "I broke my shoulder." I'm like, "Oh, let's go check it out." So they went back and had some cheesy X-ray deal. It wasn't our normal sports medicine team. They're like, "No, it's not broken."
Get your ass out there.
The security guy was there, and I've known him for a long, long time. I said, "James, you got your car down here?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "We're going to the hospital." He goes, "Are you serious?" I said, "We're going to the hospital. It's broke." We went and had to have it basically completely reconstructed.
Really?
But
how long did it take you to recover to get back in the groove?
I was back at work in 3 months.
Were you?
Yeah. Which I got in trouble by my doctor, and I pay for it now. But it was that time in my career where, like, I just was getting into the PBR. And I needed to be seen, because for the bullfighters to make the national finals rodeo or the PBR world finals, you're voted on by the top bull riders in the world.
Oh.
So like during the national finals rodeo, those guys get selected by the top 15 bull riders in the PRCA.
Really?
Or for the PBR world finals, you're selected by the top 30 bull riders in the PBR world. So if you're not out there getting seen, they're not going to vote for you.
Yeah.
So it was kind of crunch time. I believe I came back like in July, and then they vote in September. But I only had a limited number of PBR events that I was going to get to go to the rest of that year, so I had to. So I was told 6 weeks, come back, and we'll check it out and see if we'll release you. And I said, bullshit, I'm back in the arena in 3 weeks or 3 months. 3 weeks. I was back. But
where did that happen at?
That was I believe Tulsa was where that incident's happened. But
where was your favorite place to perform?
Probably Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Really?
In the pit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just because, well, it'd be hard to say. For different reasons. The pit in Albuquerque, it's so small, the arena's so small, and because of the geographic location, you get the best bulls in the world there. And then the Native Americans are huge PBR fans. Well, just rodeo fans. Mm-hmm. And they come in there and pack that place, and they're right on top of you, and it is loud. It's deafening loud. It's just unbelievable. But in that small, confined arena, you really had to have your shit together. Like, it was easy to make a mistake, and bad things were going to happen when you did. So you had to be at the very top of your game, but you had the energy in there.
You got that going. You're explaining it sounds like Gladiator.
It kind of felt like it, you know. But on the flip side, New York City, Madison Square Gardens was awesome for the sheer reason. And it's the same thing. They sold out 3 nights in a row. Unbelievable crowd, loud, wild, fun. But the one thing that separates New Yorkers from any other bull riding or rodeo that I've ever been to in my life, if you screw up, if you get 1 jumped or 2 jumped on your bull, they are going to boo you. And they're going to boo you for real. I remember the first year we went there, Julio Moreno was roping bulls, and Julio always screwed around and just tried to throw some trick shots or something, especially if the bull's already going out. And he threw his rope and missed, and they booed him.
Really?
And I laughed. Oh, it was funny. I was like, this is cool.
So you're talking about full sellout crowd. I mean, is that 15,000 or 30,000? I mean,
I think it's there. It's right around 15,000. Yeah.
So that's a big turnout for rodeo.
Yeah.
For a bullfight.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Like, I remember the first years we went to New York. I was gonna go walk down the street and get something to eat, and I'm like, should I wear my cowboy hat or should I not or whatever? Wear your cowboy hat, and people were looking at you, and you could hear them talking like, "What's all the cowboy hats going?" And some people that had time, they would stop you and ask you like, "Oh, there's bull riding here in town." Now you go to New York, they see cowboy hats, they're like, "Hey, the bull riding's back in town." They're ready for it.
Really?
Like, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Did you have sponsorships?
Yep. Yeah. So we and I had my own through time, but the PBR, the way the PBR works is they own the jersey. And so a sponsor will buy that jersey from the PBR, and then basically you're a walking billboard.
Okay.
So, like when I first got to the PBR, Dickies was a sponsor. So we wore all Dickies stuff. And then they sponsored us at that time outside of the arena as well, just to wear their clothing all the time. And then when I left, sponsor was and still is the U.S. Border Patrol.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, so which was cool because we got to go do some really cool stuff with the Border Patrol.
So were you a contractor? Or were you an employee of PBR? I mean,
We're independent contractors.
Really?
Yeah.
And so could you do your own gigs outside of that to where?
Yeah.
Whether it's product acquisition and distribution and representation.
Yeah, you could. You just couldn't wear any other sponsors other than like U.S. Border Patrol. They own the full jersey.
Really?
Yeah, I got clever and they own the shorts and the jersey top.
Uh-huh.
So I got clever and heck, I had Ben Marquis Metalworks. He built some socks that had his logo on. So I wore his socks, pulled them up high, and then a lot of people gave me crap for it, but for the back half of my career, I always wore a ball cap instead of a cowboy hat. And the story of that is we were in Chicago, and we got done Chicago, and I had a flight. And so I left my hat in a hat box and put it on top of one of the road cases, and because those guys would put it in their road case for me. Went to the airport. Well, Jesse Byrne and I both, we had a 2-hat box, and we got to the next event, and I went to get our hats, and Jesse, did you get our hats already? He said, no, somebody stole the hats.
Oh, for crying out loud.
So all I had was a ball cap. So I wore that.
Steal the bullfighter's hat.
Right. So, but then some people were pissed off because I was wearing a hat, so which just made me want to wear a ball cap more. I'm like, hell with you. And then I got to thinking, thought, man, that logo's right there. So I sold the hat. So I had somebody's, and then I put a patch on the side of the hat because the PBR didn't own the hat or my socks.
Or your socks.
So I got away with it for a while, and then they finally ended up making us quit doing that too. But
really,
yeah, but outside the arena, we could have any kind of endorsement.
And so, did you do any extracurricular type stuff? I mean, was there charitable events or anything that you were outside of the PBR, or were you always inside of the PBR circle?
Pretty much always inside the PBR circle. But
yeah.
The neat thing, like with the Border Patrol, was the reason the Border Patrol sponsors the PBR is recruiting money, and so they back in. It was early day. It was right around that 05, 06 time. They sponsored some bull riders, and they would have a tent up there, or a booth, I guess, and they were recruiting fans. And so turned out years later that those Border Patrol agents that were recruited from the bull ridings turned out to be some of the best agents that they ever had, because they were outdoorsmen. Mm-hmm. They weren't afraid. They were early, easy starters. Mm-hmm. They learned fast. They didn't get lost. Everything about them, they just were good at. And so it came a time where a lot of those guys were going to retire. So that's when Border Patrol came back in. But we got to go do some really cool. Like, I've been through the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. We got to learn how to pit maneuver cars. We got to learn how to jump into water from high elevation.
Really?
Yeah, just all kind of stuff. We actually got to go on some missions with them and catch bad guys, catch illegals, and so yeah, it was fun. It was neat.
Did you ever do outside the country stuff?
I never did. No. Yeah. Been to Canada, but I don't think that counts, does it? Is that outside the country?
Sure does that count?
She's killed it up. She's Canadian.
I consider part of America.
Yes, we're not the 5150 yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
She's what? You're an intern?
Yeah.
Yeah. But her dad lives here in Evergreen, so
Right.
So we're not trying to insult the Canadians.
No, we love the Canadians. That's why I would consider it out of country.
But
Just don't try to drink with the Canadians.
no,
Yeah,
no,
that's important to know.
yeah, I did that when I was in the Yukon,
Right.
And I can't keep up.
No, you're gonna lose.
Yeah, there was no way. There was White Horse Yukon territory. Do not go to the restaurant and have people buy you drinks.
Right.
So, PBR travels around the world though, don't they?
Yeah.
Do they go South America and Europe and stuff?
Yeah, and they have, PBR is huge in Brazil. It's big in Mexico. Like, in fact, the biggest rodeo / bull riding event is in Brazil. They get like 60,000 people a night to spectators.
Is that Palo Alto?
I'm not sure exactly where it is, but yeah, also Australia, Canada.
So they're using
Mexico.
bulls from there, or they taking
They
bulls
use
with
it
them?
from there.
Do they?
Yeah.
I was gonna say I wouldn't want to get on a bull that just got on a 37-hour plane flight, and
No.
he'd be pissed.
No, we did fly bulls. We did fly bulls to Hawaii.
Really?
At one, yeah, we had a bull riding over there years ago and flew them bulls over there. It's a pretty neat deal.
So the PBR and PRCA, those guys they ride back and forth to some degree. I mean, a bull rider and PBR is not just stuck to PBR.
In a sense, correct. But so you can't turn out of a PBR event and go compete somewhere else. So if you're in the top 30, you're invited to every event to get out of the top 30. But if you're injured, you can turn out of an event, but you can't turn out and then go compete somewhere else. That's the stipulation.
But if you're doing fine, you keep going, you can go do the PRCA.
As long as there's not a PBR event that you're missing.
Okay.
Yeah. So if they have a weekend off or something, they can go. And those guys now with the teams deal, that you have the regular season PBR and then you have the teams season PBR.
What Cody's doing.
Right. So some of them aren't doing both, so they can go rodeo half the year and go do the team deals the other half of the year.
So is the PBR now? That's the upper echelon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's follow the money, and your best bulls and your best bull riders are there. When you can go, I think Jose Vitor Leme last year won $1.7 million.
Really?
Something like that. So, and the guys in the PRCA were winning $200,000-300,000.
Mm-hmm.
It's not rocket
How much
science.
crossover is there? Is there guys that, I guess the PRCA guys would have a hard time competing on the PBR unless they're really good,
Right.
or whatever. But the PBR, if they want to turn around and do something on the PRCA, they can.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just the bulls are a little tougher in the PBR, and some of the same bulls go to both. Mm-hmm. But as a whole, the bulls are.
What about bullfighters? Do they go back and forth? Or
Yep.
Do they?
Yep. Yeah, they go back and forth too.
Yeah.
So, and there's no stipulation with them. They can come and go as they please. But if you're wanting to make the PBR World Finals and you're missing a bunch of PBRs to go to a bunch of rodeos, they might vote for the guy that really wants to be there.
Well, not to get too deep into the money side of it, but if you were a contractor and you were with PBR, you negotiate. You have an agent, or you do it yourself, or whatever.
They just had this is what you're going to make. You have no negotiation power.
Right.
So,
Right.
And in reality, you'd be stupid to turn it down.
Yeah.
It's good money.
It was fair.
More than fair. Yeah.
Yeah. And but then you're responsible for your own insurance and your travel arrangements and all the other stuff.
You have like a secondary insurance through the PBR as a contract personnel. But yeah, you had to carry your own insurance, travel, rooms. I was lucky, because I did the TV part of it. I didn't get a raise, but they buy my room everywhere I'd go, and whatnot. So
Put you in a Motel 6 and
yeah,
County
exactly.
or somewhere.
So I did actually get a little bit of a raise, but not much. But it was and it was fair.
So you did that for 26, 27 years?
I believe I was with PBR for 17 years.
Okay.
So
And then it changed dramatically from the time that you started to the time that you left, as far as just how big of a cult it became.
yeah, it's just growing and growing and growing. And about the time you think they're out of steam, it just keeps growing.
Now, they used to be in Pueblo.
Yes.
It was just a big base of Pueblo. Now they went and moved to Texas, right?
Yeah, they moved their headquarters to Texas, but which is, I mean, it makes sense. It's you got a good airport there, and it's center of the country for the most part.
Pueblo was kind of a launching pad, it seemed like, or regional
was.
or something.
Yeah, that was their original headquarters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where their main offices were.
Yeah.
That's where they had the all the training facility, I guess, is what it was down there, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yep. And I don't know if they built another training facility in Texas or not. But
yeah. So did they kind of homegrown a bunch of their own guys, or were the guys pretty much, on their own to be able to turn around? Because I'd like to talk to Cody more about it, but I'm still interested, and I think most of the listeners would be, is how do you build up a team? I mean,
Right.
Is the team separate from the individual guys doing this stuff? Is it a compilation of all the individual guys? And he was talking about drafts, and he was talking about all this other stuff. I mean, they're making it a team sport.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the whole goal, is to make it a team sport where there's even more money in there. And the guys like it because, and I don't know 100% of the details because the teams was just an idea when I left. But, those guys are making signing bonuses and stuff, so they're making money that they may not have had it not been for the teams. But I think it's the future of it's getting brighter. I was kind of on the fence about it at first, but everything I've heard about it's been good. And these towns, if you're in New York and the New York Mavericks are playing, they're going to cheer for them, and they get behind it. And it's been really good from everything I've understand about it. But
that's pretty cool setup, the way they're trying to do things, just to make it different, more inviting, inclusive, or enthusiastic and exciting.
And kind of more mainstream. It's already a mainstream sport, I think. Here in the last, I don't know, 12, 15 years, it's kind of become more mainstream. People know about it. You can go to New York City and sell out Madison Square Gardens 3 nights in a row. That's pretty damn good. But I think the team deals is the future, and getting more buyers into the market. And it's fun to own something, whether it's a racehorse or whatever. You're gonna get behind it and have fun, and it's created more opportunities for more sponsors as well. So,
well, you got a particular sense of humor and stuff, and I mean, your rodeo clown background could cross over to the other side if you ever wanted to go into that direction.
No way.
You're not dressing up in a barrel for that stuff.
No, thank you.
So you got a particular bull that you just liked to work around? That, I mean, just one special one that you thought, okay, this is going to be a good one?
Yeah, I thought, at least in my time, the best I ever saw, and he was my favorite just because he pulled no punches, but was a bull called Bushwhacker, and he went unridden for a really, really long time. Like J.B. Mooney, one of the best to ever put a bull on a rope. I think he got on him 12 or 13 times before he finally rode him. And
Really?
But the bull would just stand in the chute like a show steer, and he might twitch his ear or something like that, but he just stood there like a perfect gentleman, and almost as if like, get all your shit right because I'm fixing to be a handful for you. And he really bucked off Phil. He would do weird things, but if you got to think a bull can feel a fly land on his butt.
Oh yeah.
So he can feel whether your ass cheek's an inch to the right or to the left, and he would use that against you. You never really knew what he was going to do. He could go either way, and he could buck equally as hard either way. And then if he bucked you off underneath him, he'd jump out of the way to keep from stepping on you. Like, he was just such an impressive athlete, but at the same time, such a gentleman. Like, it's just cool.
Yeah.
That
You see some of that stuff with JB now where he's raising those, and that one that ended his career, I mean, he walks up and scratches him on the head and, feeds him out of his hand. And it's hard for people to understand. Now, there's some out there that you wouldn't want to do that to.
Right. Well, there's some that won't let you, but
yeah.
But that's the whole thing is you got to respect the animal. Like, the long time saying is it's not when you're gonna get hurt or if, it's when and how bad. And so you can't hold that against the animal.
He's just doing his deal.
Yep, exactly.
And if you happen to get in his way, well, you just happen to be in his way.
Yep, tough. Yeah.
So is there a particular bull that you hated, that you didn't want to see, that you thought, oh crap, here he's in the chute again?
Not really, because like that was the challenging part of it. Like, I'm gonna show you, it wasn't. There's some that are meaner than others, and you knew it, but it was a challenge to see what you could do, and it's one of the amazing things. Like, somebody would bring a new bull, and they'd be like, "Oh, watch this one, he's really mean." Well, you've seen guys in a bar that are bar brawlers, but when you get somebody else that walks straight to them, a lot of times they back off.
Yeah.
And the bulls are the same way. Like, they've never had somebody, they're badasses around their hometown, around their little arena. But you get them there and you get three guys that don't give a shit how mean you are and they running at you. It kind of checks them up. Just
really.
Yeah. And then you got them.
Changes the whole attitude.
Changes their attitude. And then they might log back in, but by that time, I always said, if you can get your hands on their horns, they feel that pressure and they push up, and you get their front feet off the ground a little bit and you take them out of 4-wheel drive, and then you got them.
And I think, Becca, have you been to rodeos? Do you like them?
Mm-hmm.
What events do you like the best out of them?
The bull riding, actually.
Yeah. Did you ever know that there was that much intricacy behind the scenes when you talk about a bullfighter? No.
No, I would just go and watch and eat my popcorn and
Right.
See if anybody gets stomped or anybody gets hurt. And
yeah. Thinking, oh, I could do that.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah,
That looks easy.
Yeah, it's a little bit different story when you listen to the
Absolutely.
yeah, big time. If you have, did you have guys that you really like to work with on the ground?
Oh yeah.
I mean, was it so? Did you try to do the same three because you were familiar with each other, or did you always have different partners?
So if you make the PBR World Finals anyways, then they take 4 guys there, and the top 3 vote getters get to go to all the events the following year. So somebody might sit out one for their kid's birthday or this or that or whatever, but typically you're working with the same 3 guys all the time. And so, yeah, I really, Joe Baumgartner, one of the best there's ever been. Well, my opinion, the best there's ever been. One of the best there's ever been to work with. And Jesse Byrne. Those 2 guys were so smooth, and they made it look so easy. Both of them were kind of tall, lanky guys, had long arms. They could reach out and touch a bull from a long ways away. And then they were just super team players. Like, they always had your back. They never took bad shots. You see, and that's another thing, you see bullfighters getting knocked on their ass all the time, and a lot of people, oh man, that guy's great. Well, if you're getting knocked on your ass, you're probably doing something wrong. And there's a better way. Like, that's where reading the bull. And sometimes you have to. Sometimes there's no choice. But if you're a guy that's always getting knocked down, you're probably screwing up. So
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, so that's why I like working with those guys, because they're always on their feet and they could always help you.
So a bull rider is supposed to be on 8 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, I mean, you're trying to do stuff for 8 seconds, but it might go 2 seconds longer, might go 12 seconds longer, depending on how bad it is. Or it might be just 2 seconds total.
Or it might go minutes longer.
Yeah.
I've had that happen.
Have you?
Oh, yeah. You get a guy knocked out by the out gate. You got to take that bull to the other end of the arena and keep him busy till they can either get the guy out, which you don't ever want to move a guy. That was always what the doctors told us, leave him there. And that's why you have a guy in the arena roping bulls. If you could take that bull to the other end of the arena and keep that bull busy until that guy could get a rope on him and hold him, then the medical team can come in and work on that guy and get him out there. But till that guy gets a rope on him, you're busy.
Yeah.
You're just doing whatever you can to keep that bull's attention down there with you.
Did you see where bulls wanted to stay and continue extracurricular activity? Or
Yeah, I always tell people it's a lot like human nature. Like when you're young, you go to work and then you go to the bar and chase girls and maybe get in a fight and then think about going home because you got to work tomorrow morning. And the bulls are the same way, and as we get older, you go to work and go home. And the bulls were the same way. The young ones a lot of times tend to want to stay out there and play longer. The older ones do their job and go home. The bad ones were the old ones that wanted to stay out there and play because they knew the game as good as you did.
Yeah.
You know, and nowadays even the young bulls aren't as bad because of this. They have, it's called American Bucking Bulls Incorporated. It's a futurity system for the young bulls. So these bulls are getting bucked at 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds, and they know the pattern. They know where the outgate is. They do their thing. And
yeah, if anybody watches a rodeo on television or in person, and when you know that whatever it is, that animal is done and turns right back to go out.
Yeah.
He's gone through that routine over and over and over.
Exactly.
But they run them through, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, like a practice, their test run for them.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So they'll go through the chutes and then turn around and open it up, let them do the deal, and then turn around and show them where the gate is.
Yeah, and anymore you don't see that happen as much because, especially in the PBR and the ABBI, the arenas are so standardized now. It's always the same setup.
Is it?
Yeah, you're gonna have a left-hand delivery, right-hand delivery, and an outgate in the middle.
Okay.
Those bulls, they know.
They know exactly.
Yeah, they know. You know, at a rodeo, you have to do it because you might have all left-hand deliveries, and what I mean by delivery is, you know this, Dan, but is which way the chute gate opens. So the hinge is always toward the animal's head. And when they open the gate, if it's a left-hand delivery, the bull's going to turn to the left to come out into the arena. If it's a right-hand delivery, they're going to turn to the right. And some bulls, like if you have a bull that likes to turn back to the right, he's going to be on his right lead. Well, you want him out of a right-hand delivery, so he starts out with that right foot forward, so he's on the right lead. If you go to a rodeo, they might be all left-hand deliveries. Not so much anymore, back in the day. And the strip and shoot, the outgate, might be way in the heck one direction or the other. And so that's why back in those days, like in the rodeo days, and a lot of these rodeos have updated their arenas, but he had to run those bulls through time and time again just to get them to where they knew that, okay, I'm going to be turning out to the left instead of the right, which they're used to, and then the outgate's going to be way over here. And you do that mainly for the safety of the bull and the rider as he leaves the chute, but the outgate for the time of the show. You don't want a bull out in the middle of the arena that doesn't know where to go, and you have to rope everyone and makes performance go for 3 hours instead of 2.
So we expect everybody to know exactly terminology and everything, but explain, would you, why does a bull buck?
Well, the bulls buck because there's a foreign object on their back. So you can buck them. You know, they got a rope around their chest, and then that's what the bull rider holds on to. Then you have a rope on their flank. We call it a flank strap, and that's a soft cotton rope that goes around their flank, and it fits like a belt. It's nowhere near their testicles. And the idea, so a bull will buck without it, but it's a lot of front end. So they're jumping up off the ground in their front end and not kicking with their hind feet. The idea is to tighten that soft cotton rope tight enough to where the bull feels it. So now that's a foreign object to them, but loose enough so that when they kick, there's actually slack in the rope. So when they kick, they think that flank strap is going to come off. And that's what makes them kick up in the air with their hind feet.
And when it doesn't come off, then they kick again.
And again and again. Yep.
And then you still got weight on the front. You got a bull wrapped or a rope wrapped around your front.
Right.
Yeah. So you're dual action, trying to get two different things off.
Exactly. That's what creates the up and down motion.
And so bulls have a tendency, and I don't profess to be an expert like Cody or anybody, but bulls have a tendency. They don't always do the exact same thing, but they have a tendency to come out and do 2 jumps to the left and then swing back to the right, or maybe they circle hard to the right.
Yeah, they'll have a basic pattern that they...
Could you read them pretty easy?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, we could, on the ground, yeah, we could, but you get to little things, like if a bull's going to the left and going to switch it up, like a lot of times they have one jump kind of up and down, not going either direction, and then they're going to fall back around and go the other way. And so you see those things, and those are little things that we look for as bullfighters, because let's say, a bull's going one direction and the guy's arm's a little low or a little high or whatever, and then that bull does something else. That's an indicator that this guy's probably going to hit the dirt pretty quick. So you're kind of watching the bull and the bull rider, but your main focus was always on, to me, I always focus on the rider's hips. Because it's just like defending somebody in basketball or in football. They're going to go where their hips go. So if you see their hips point one way, that's where they're going.
And typically a bull rider is trying to watch the head or the shoulders.
Shoulders. Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the head doing.
No, and there's a lot of times these bulls buck so hard right now you wouldn't see their head because it's gonna be between their front legs on the down, you know. And,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's mainly the shoulders.
And was it easier for you as a fighter? Any particular style of bull that was easier or worse to deal with?
No, not.
I mean, one that constantly circles to the right or circles to the left or bucks straight and just keeps bucking hard.
No,
It doesn't matter.
it didn't really matter.
Yep.
You just figured, like if you knew the bull's pattern and you knew this guy's riding style, you had figured, okay, this guy might hang up, or this guy's gonna get thrown over the front end, or you know, this guy might get knocked out. Like it was just you kind of learn the style of riders, and then you knew what the bull was gonna do pretty much, and he just adjusted to it.
Did any of those guys ever ask your opinions, or what?
Oh, yeah.
They pretty much in their own circle and screw the bullfighter?
No, they would absolutely ask our opinions.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, one of the Myron Duarte one, he didn't ask my opinion. I told him my opinion. But he won Reno Rodeo one time on a bull called Tahanta, and Tahanta was 2 or 3 time bull of the year in the PRCA, and him and Clayton Fultine pulled in that morning. We were BSing after we got done feeding and stuff, and I said, "What do you got?" He said, "I got the big one." I said, "Tahana?" He said, "Yeah, I got him." I said, "You're gonna ride him?" He said, I don't know about that." I said, "You're gonna ride him if you listen to me." And he said, "What are you thinking?" I said, "Look, they've hauled that bull all over the country, and you know, you don't see it in the PBR, but in the PRCA you can enter the big rodeos on a permit. Well, not all of them, but anyways, I saw that bull with a bunch of permit riders. Well, the permit riders, they're just, young guys trying to get a go. A lot of times they didn't pull the rope as tight, and they didn't use their feet as good. And this bull, he was just lazy by instinct. And so he would just kind of make a few little soft jumps out there, and the guy'd fall off, and he'd turn around and walk out the outgate. And Myron said, "What are you thinking?" I said, "Don't pull any rope into that bull, and do not touch him with a spur until he turns back." He said, "How in the hell do you figure that?" I said, "Myron, I'm telling you, that bull's lazy. It's had too many permit guys on him." I said, "If you do that," I said, "you'll get him rode." And Myron did it. And when you seen that bull turn back that first round, Myron got a hold of him with the feet, and you could just see the expression on that bull's face like, "Oh, shit, I screwed up." And he rode him for like 93 points or something like that, win the rodeo on him, or win the round, whatever it was. But yeah, so like, those guys knew you knew them bulls just as well as they did. So
Yeah.
a lot of times they'd ask you if they didn't already have a game plan.
And when you're doing a show, are the bulls the same bulls every night?
No, they usually try to spread them out.
Do they?
Yeah.
So they're hauling a hell of a lot of bulls.
Oh, yeah.
To an event. If you got 30 riders and 30 riders or 30 and 60 or whatever the hell numbers are, you got a hell of a lot of bulls that are traveling around the country.
Yeah, usually like if it was a 3-day deal, they'd buck 30 the first night, give those bulls the night off the second night, and then buck a lot of those same bulls, those 30 from the first night, they buck them on the third night. Mm-hmm. And then your short rounders usually only went one time a week.
Really?
Like that. Yeah, they save that.
They don't want to wear them out.
Yeah, and they buck so hard, they'll, you don't want them to get sore or whatever, so you buck them once and leave them alone.
So that brings up a point, because Cody's raising bulls.
Yeah.
And so the bulls themselves, that's a lucrative business.
Yeah. If you got good ones.
If you got good ones. But how much money's in bull raising to the point to where, compared to what it used to be when I was a kid, I mean, everybody had bulls. Everybody had bareback horses and saddlebrock horses. There was a few, but bull raising became a big deal.
Yeah.
25 years after I was doing it.
Right.
But now it's like big giant bucks.
It's big, yeah. I don't know what the payout is anymore, but I want to say like your World Champion Classic bull, which is a 3-year-olds. I want to say it's like $250,000 or something like that to win that, plus what they won all year. Mm-hmm. Like those guys can actually own bulls and makes pretty good.
The infrastructure of PBR, PRCA to pull these events off. I mean, the facilities are there, but to be able to turn around and take the guys and take the animals and all the other people that turn around and show up to make the event happen. that's a major production deal. I mean, I think Bobby Marshall with the Mountainside Podcast would think that was cool if he hadn't been around it that much. Because
Right.
he's done, like Metallica and some
Exactly.
of the great big giant, rock bands and stuff.
Mhm.
What you're talking about is just as big of a production.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Except for you just don't have it a big setup like what they do because you've already got the arena or the
Well,
location.
Not in the rodeos. Yeah, the arenas are usually there, and your lower level PBRs. There's some places that the arenas there, but the bigger events, they pack the whole thing: the arena, the stage, the everything, and then got to bring in a bunch of dirt. It's logistically it's challenging.
Kind of like the monster truck deals you
Right.
turn around and see where you.
Well, then you got to find somewhere to keep the bulls
Uh-huh.
because they don't stay in the arena. Can you imagine?
Oh, really?
70 head? No,
Yeah.
they'll find a stockyard somewhere or something and rent it from them and
Bring them down where they are and then turn around and take them back.
Exactly.
I'll be go to hell.
Yeah, it's
Stuff-
logistically.
Stuff you just don't think about, all the logistics to be able to turn around and pull it off.
Well, if you had 70 or 80 bulls staying in a coliseum overnight, imagine what that's going to smell like when the crowd comes in there the next day.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to get your popcorn, would you? But
No. No, you'd have flies eating that popcorn faster than you do.
yeah, exactly. And do you see where, I mean, what I know about livestock, sometimes they don't feel up to par.
Right.
I mean, pack horses and dude strings,
Mhm.
they don't want to do what they do. Roping horses the same way, bucket horses the same way.
Yep.
Could you tell when a bull just like, I don't want to do this crap?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times those guys, if they don't think they feel good, the owners go out there, they're there in the morning watering, graining. Most of the time, the PBR will have some sort of little exercise pen. Like, it's pretty impressive during the national or during the PBR World Finals. They have like 3 or 4 exercise pens out there with a big old pile of sand in it, and those bulls are in there rolling and hooking that sand and playing around. And if those guys don't think they feel up to par, the livestock director has to come out and look at them to say, yeah, he doesn't feel good. We're going to pull him out tonight.
Really?
But, oh yeah, they and the only reason you do that is because to keep everything honest. You don't want somebody drawing the toughest bull rider in the world, and this bull's been, never been ridden, and he's like, no, he doesn't feel good. I'm going to pull him out. You just keep that from happening. The livestock director has to come out and look at them and say, yeah, we're not going to.
So they're well taken care of.
Oh, they're pampered, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you free incarnation real, I would not mind coming back a bucket bull.
Yeah, I can see where there's a lot of criticism in the industry, just like it is with anything else we do when it turns to animals or wildlife, domesticated or otherwise. But there's a lot of loving care that goes into making sure that these animals are living the dream.
They're like their kids,
Yeah.
and well, you think bushwhacker, that's been quite a while ago. The value of this bull's gone way up since then, but I think Julio turned down like $500,000 for him.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean,
$500,000 he turns it down.
yeah, and you're going to take care of him. If they're worth that much money, you're going to take care of these. And this is how these guys make their living. If they're abusing these bulls not going to want to perform for them. So it becomes difficult to make a living if you got a bunch of bulls that don't perform. So they're going to make sure they get the best grain, they get the best supplements. Like, I talked to some of these guys that order their supplements from overseas because it's a more pure supplement than they can get here, and this and that. Yeah, it's a big business, and they are very, very pampered.
Give me a rundown. So explain. Let's just say you're headed to an event,
Mm-hmm.
and give me a rundown of what that would look like to the time you got there, to the time you maybe there's walkthroughs, maybe there's just preparation, maybe whatever, your workout week or whatever you did, and then getting ready for the next one, and give people an idea on like a 2 or 3 week period of you doing this over and over and over.
Yeah, and it depends on how the events fall, like how many days. The 3-day events always wore you out. And we used to have a bunch of those back to back to back. They kind of quit doing that. You'd have a 3-day event, and then a 2-day, and then might have another 3-day. But anyways, on a typical week, I'd be pulling out on a Thursday, either midday or afternoon, depending on what kind of flights I could get. And the more you did it, the better you got at booking your flights. I would always try to take the last possible flight I could get in there the night before. Didn't want to fly the day of because if flight got canceled or something, you didn't make it. But anyways, I'd try to take the last flight on the night before, so it would be a Thursday. Get there, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. Get checked in your room, go to bed, sleep in, get up, eat a little bit, and then me personally doing the TV deal, I would always have to be there. I think we were there 4 hours before the show time to go have a TV meeting, talk about all the stuff that was going to go on that night in the TV. And then they would have catering and eat a little bit. And then go to the sports medicine room and start getting worked on. And I was always the last one to get ready. Some of those guys get ready 2.5 hours before the show. Their cleats are strapped on. They're ready to go. I'd be about 20 minutes before their show. I'd be getting ready. And then get stretched out and walk out there and have the time of your life for 2 hours, and then come back and get changed up, take a shower, and head to the hotel and try to get a cold beer and a bite to eat, and then get some sleep and repeat the next day. And there's a two-day event. It was really hard to get out on a Saturday because the event wouldn't get over till 9:30, and so you were getting do the same thing and getting up on Sunday morning and catching the first flight out you could. That was it. It was challenging, and some guys really, especially in the production crew, they got really to see how late they could get there and how quick they could get out of there. It was like a challenge
Really,
because everybody wanted to be home. I mean, we loved what we did, but yeah, you wanted to get home as quick as you could. So that was, and then go home. And me personally, so I remember when I first started doing the TV deal, I went to my chiropractor, and he's like, "What's up?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You're tired. What's going on?" I said, "Nothing." He said, "No." He said, "Hey, something ain't right." He said, "Has anything changed?" I said, "Well, started doing TV at the deals, so I got to be there earlier and all this." He goes, No. He said, "What it is," and I'm not a doctor, but he said, the physical fatigue and mental fatigue is the same chemical to your brain. He said, now you're getting a double dose of it. So I'd go home and just try to decompress. And the way I did that was with the Hounds. And so I would get home, depending on what day I'd get home, and I was
you can go run
next
your
day,
ass off for
I was loading the dogs up and
3 days running
to the
running behind a
yeah.
pack of dogs.
Yep. And then go do it again. And that was my, I was out in the middle of nowhere with dogs that I love to be around, and they love to be around me, and didn't matter how good or bad of a weekend it went, the dogs were always the same. And it was my decompression.
So you didn't get a chance to really see a lot of anything when you were on the road. I mean, you were at a location, just like for anybody that's in the sales industry. I mean, you're seeing your customers, or maybe you're going to a conference, or maybe you're going to whatever it might be. You're not sightseeing.
No.
You're not there to enjoy the surroundings at all.
I could tell you in almost every major city in the U.S. what it looks like from the airport to the Marriott to the Coliseum, and that in reverse. And that's all I could tell you.
That's it.
Yeah.
You landed somewhere, you'd have no idea where you were at as you were doing those three things.
Exactly. So
that's kind of interesting that as much travel as people do, it's hard to take a little bit of time and smell the roses.
Right.
And more often than not, we don't.
Right.
Right. And in modern day life, a lot of times we don't do that as well.
Right.
In a hurry to be able to get somewhere.
Right.
We've tried to turn around as a family to backtrack a little bit on that and say, okay, we're going to take a day or a half a day or whatever just to see something while you're there.
Right.
But it's tough, especially when you're doing it part of your job.
Right.
And
Right.
the job just turns around and kind of eats you and consumes you, and you signed up for it. You're just you're part of the machine.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, what you got 3 guys doing the bullfighting circuit. Somebody gets sick. Now you're down to 2. You got a replacement that can ship in.
Well, that's kind of why they did the 3 guys. Sometimes we were down to 2, but the bullfighting community is such a small community. We all know somebody somewhere close. And if somebody was sick, you'd call and look for available guys. that you wanted to work with. There was times where we could get guys and we told the PBR, like, hey, we'd rather work just two of us than work with that guy because they were dangerous or whatever, you know. So we kind of had some say in that, but we could usually find a third guy to come in there that was handy enough to do the job.
You ever have a stomach flu when you had to do anything, or hangover or anything? You just thought, you know, I'd rather not be right here, right this second.
Hell, for the longest time, I didn't think you could fight bulls without a hangover. No, I had to call in sick one time during COVID. I had to call in sick, but yeah, I didn't even know I had it. We had to get tested during COVID, which kind of neat. PBR wrote the book on sports during COVID. Like, we were the last ones to stop, and we were the first ones to start back up professional sport. And Sean Gleason, the CEO, he wrote like 27-page protocol of how we were going to do it. And he could present it to the city and, like, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we do it. This is why it's safe. Da-da-da-da-da. In fact, other sports started copying him, like, call, like, hey, can we get that? He would gladly hand it out to him. But
really,
so we would have to test within 24 hours of travel. And then we would have to test when we got there. And then if it was a 3-day deal, we'd have to test again during the event. And so I went, there was a little 15-minute test station on the way to the airport, and went and got swabbed, and they would then send you out to your truck, and I'm sitting out there, and they called, and they said, is this Seth? I said, it is. They said, what's the last four of your social? No, they said, what's your birthday? And I told them, then they said, okay, what's the last four of your social? I just started laughing. I said, I've got COVID, huh? He said, what do you mean? I need the last four of your social. I said, well, you never asked for four, so I must have it. He says, yeah, can we admit you to the hospital? I said, hell no. I said, I'm going home. And so called the boss and said, hey, find someone else. I'm not going to make it. So,
really?
Yeah. But other than that, you know, some injury has taken me out for a little while, but for the most part, you can power through.
Mm-hmm. How long you been living in New Mexico?
2.5, 3 years, something like that.
And so when you were doing the hound stuff before, after your circuit shows and stuff, where were you living?
I was living down in South Texas, Cotulla, Texas.
Okay.
Way down, it's just north of the Mexican border near Laredo.
So dryland dogs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate hunting snow. It just makes everything
You
hard.
get a little bit of snow down there.
Well, I know. I do hunt in it.
This past year, I think, was it the past year, you had to have a helicopter turn around and go in and feed your dogs or something.
Yeah, during that polar vortex.
Yeah.
I was stuck in South Texas.
Yeah.
Couldn't get back, so we had to have a helicopter go pick up our man that works for us and fly him over the dogs and feed them.
And how much snow did you get?
Out of that storm, we ended up with like 5 foot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And then right before that, we had like 1/2 foot. So,
Really?
yeah. So it was
How long did it take you to get back in once you got back around?
a week.
Did it?
Yeah, before they got the roads plowed, because I've got a few dozers there on the ranch, but
You couldn't get to them.
I couldn't get to. They called like, "Hey, can you doze the county road out for us?" I said, "I can't even get back to the ranch." So finally, they got some dozers in there, but they had so much other stuff to do before they got out to us.
Was that in November?
Yeah.
Last year?
Yep.
That big sucker we got in November.
Yeah.
And it covered the entire eastern part of the state and
Yep.
everywhere else.
Yep.
And so you were in Texas during the day. You moved up to New Mexico.
Yep.
And the place that you're on now, you run lions there.
Yeah. 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 And so I actually, before I came to New Mexico, I was actually working for the USDA out in California, collaring lions and bobcats.
Really?
For them out there. Yeah. It's kind of what I did there at tail end. I've done some contract jobs where we were collaring lions in New Mexico and Arizona. Got to go to Florida, collar panthers over there, and then ended up hiring on with the USDA, and I was out there for a few years, putting collars on lions there, and then the funding was getting it was getting hard to get funding for those projects and stuff like that, and about the same time, the ranch called up and was looking for somebody, and so was Florida. They were looking for somebody to come out there full time, and the ranch pulled the trigger sooner, and so I headed to New Mexico.
Really?
Yeah.
Like it there?
I love it there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got great bosses, got a great ranch. It's 30,000 acre cattle, lightly cattle, and hunting. We hunt elk, antelope, mule deer, bear, mountain lion, and turkey. And so it's always something to do. It's a fun place.
You and I met at the ISE Sports Show
Mm-hmm.
in 2024 in Denver. You and Chris Powell came up and helped us out and helped us run the booth for the first part of our campaign efforts to defeat Proposition 127.
Right.
And so we've known each other a year and a half or so.
Right.
I knew about you just through the circles.
Right.
But what's the draw? There's a connection here at some point because Cody found some solace in hounding that compared to what there was an adrenaline rush or whatever that drew him in when it came to the bull riding.
Yeah.
Did you find something similar that would equal each other and provide some payoff?
Yeah, like, the thing about hunting hounds that nobody knows is you're planning so far ahead, not just for a particular hunt, but like I raise all my own dogs, and so my mind when I'm driving down the road, radio off, I'm thinking about my future breedings. How do I want to keep this line going? What am I lacking? What I have too much of? And so you're constantly trying to control something that's can be uncontrollable if you let it. And that was the same thing as fighting bulls. Like you're controlling a situation that's uncontrollable pretty much. But anyways, you're all the things that go into hunting hound. Like heck, here, well, it's been about 10 months ago. Heck, I drove 48 hours just to breed a female to a dog that I knew of that was gonna complement what I wanted.
She was coming in the heat.
Yeah, she was coming into heat, so I freaking took off and went and bred that dog because he had something that I was lacking, but he was going to complement everything that I already had. And like that to me is the fun part. Just like Cody breeding his bulls, like the challenges that go into it, and then just really like for me, being out with my dogs, like there's no bad day. Like there's tough days, but the dogs don't care. They're happy as hell to see it no matter what. And you're out in peace and quiet. And I hate being in big cities. The noise and the cars and the traffic.
So coming up here was a joy to you then.
Well, that's why I left plenty early. But
so come from northern New Mexico, drive through Colorado Springs, up I-25, come through Denver, come to Evergreen.
Exactly.
You probably wanted to punch me square in the face as soon as you got here.
No, I need to be here, And so, but no, it's just the solitude and it's like when the dogs do well, it's like, okay, all my plannings have been working. Like my training has been working. And, and we put in as houndsmen, we put in as much or more. I would bet we put in more time. And the thing is, it's not sportsman against sportsman. We're all together. But the amount of time that we put into those hounds, and a lot of people will tell you, well, hounds hunting is easy. You just turn loose a dog and he goes and catches a lion. Yeah, I just made it look that easy because I spent countless amount of hours. I bet you I spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week with the dogs every week, And so, yeah, I made it look easy because I just did all that.
Training.
Yeah, but if you're not prepared, it can be a shit show just as easy as it can be successful. So, like, that's the thing. All that hard work paying off, and the breeding and all that stuff. It's you're proud of your dogs because that's something that you created, that you made.
If you want to support a company that supported the efforts to defeat Proposition 127, then you need to support Davis Tent. Davis Tent has provided quality canvas goods for outdoorsmen for the last 50-plus years. For more information, go to davistent.com. If you want to support another business that was instrumental in helping us defeat Proposition 127, check out Salida Gun Shop. Salida Gun Shop in Salida, Colorado provides quality products, expertise, and knowledge from individuals that actually do what they sell. Go to salidagunshop.com. Listen to the advice of Cameron Haynes and support companies that are supporting your cause and your efforts. Minturn Anglers is one of those companies. Minturn Anglers provides product and fishing excursions in Colorado and are second to none. For more information, go to minturnanglers.com.
In our previous podcast with John Howard and Dean Riggs, I incorporated Beckett into the conversation. And one thing I want to ask you, if you don't mind, is have you ever been around hunting dogs at all?
No.
Did you know that what we're talking about, like with the pursuit of lions or pursuit of lions with dogs, did you know that was happening?
Mhm.
So what would be your impression, or what would be a question that you would want to ask a houndsman that actually does this, and that is, you're hearing a little bit of his background about how much he cares for the dogs and how much time he spends for the dogs. You got a question you want to ask him from an knowing party with a little bit of interest, just to be able to turn around and get a question out?
Yeah, what happens if your dogs ever get hurt? Like, because it's probably not safe fully for the dogs, right?
It's pretty uncommon for the dogs to get hurt. Really, and a lot of times when they do get hurt, it's because they fell off a ledge or rock ledge or something like that. Like, do they get scratched up a little bit if they get too close? Yeah, but they're going to the vet if I can't fix it myself. And most houndsmen I know have a medical kit with them, and we can do anything that we need to do short of what a vet needs to do to get them to the vet. So, I've got fluids there. If they get too hot and we're dehydrated, I've got fluids I can plug them into, suture, staples, you name it, I have it. But like my particular dogs are not super aggressive dogs, so they don't get as close to the mountain lion as some dogs do, which I prefer, and that comes from doing the research work. The safety of the animal is just as important as anything when you're doing research work. So my dogs are a little less aggressive. I haven't had a dog. I had one dog on a lion here as soon as I moved up here, and the dog ended up getting a little bit too close, had it bait up on the bluffs, and got a cut that was about maybe half-inch long and just barely through the skin.
Mm-hmm.
And we stapled it up and gave her some antibiotics, and that's, so it's really pretty uncommon for dogs to get hurt.
How many dogs do you hunt with?
A lot for me. My favorite number was always 14 dogs, but it just depends on the situation. If you're going into some bluffy country, that can create a problem if you have too many dogs trying to get too close to the line and they actually bump each other off of a ledge. So if you're in ledgy country, I personally hunt less dogs so they have more space to
14 is less?
to get. No, if I'm hunting in bluffy country, I'll probably hunt 4 or 5 maybe.
Okay, and how many do you have? You have 4?
No, I have counting all the puppies and everything right now, which some of them are about to go to other homes, but right now at the house I've got 30 dogs.
That's so many.
So
yeah, that's too many. That's a lot of poop.
Yeah, it is.
But in some states like Colorado, there's a limit on what you can use for pursuit. Now for studies like what you're talking about, the research side,
mm-hmm.
That's a different nut to crack, because there's a lot of people that are doing study work with game agencies or private entities.
Yeah.
And that is the idea is the same thing on the hunting side, is to pursue and confine or tree that animal to where then you can either monitor what was already established on it, or to where you can dart it and put a collar on it for tracking devices, and then be able to turn around and get additional information off of draw blood, tooth size, sex it, age it, whatever.
Testing for diseases.
Yeah.
All kinds of things.
All of that.
Yeah. A lot of the big stuff right now is DNA, especially like in California.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to sit in on some of the meetings and stuff with these agencies and whatnot, and they're mapping the DNA flow in California because of these little isolated populations, like down in LA and stuff. They don't want what happened in Florida because it's an isolated population, they started getting really inbred. So they're trying to stay in front of that. So right now they're doing a lot of DNA mapping in the state. And it's pretty cool. You can see the flow. Okay, the DNA's flowing this way or that way. And if we did have to move lion, where would be the best place
Right.
to move it from to create genetic diversity and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
And that goes into a previous conversation that we had, Becca, that when you look at the science side of it, and they talked about DNA, I mean, the rewilding side of today's environment where they just want things to be like what they want them to be. But genetic diversity is a major component that naturally happened. I think and I'm not a scientist, but it happened more frequently before when there wasn't such a human influx of population. You know, California's got 29 million people. Colorado's got almost 6 million people. Genetic diversity is not as common as it once was because those animals aren't traversing back and crossing in the areas that they normally would. There's still a lot of crossover and cross-pollination, but not to the level that it was back in the day when none of us were on this planet or none of us were in this area.
Yeah.
And they could move freely because the game animals moved in a different pattern.
Right.
And the prey animals that were there moved in a different pattern. And I think that most people, I'm assuming that when they're looking at a study, they're thinking that you're going out and you're like counting mountain lions or you're counting bears or you're counting turkeys.
It's part of it.
Yeah, but it's all the other components of going in and not just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Right.
It's the genetic diversity and all the components that go into that as well.
Yeah, and it's going to get more and more important to more people. It's like down around LA, it's not rivers that are isolating these populations. It's highways, freeways.
Yes.
16-lane freeways and houses and all that stuff. And so another part of it is they're looking at this genetic flow and working with Caltrans, who's building all the roads, and figuring out, okay, this is really important for these animals to be able to cross right here.
Thank you.
Let's build a land bridge over this freeway so that these animals can actually cross and keep that genetic diversity going.
Thank you, Mel.
So it's part of the state planning. It's part of a lot of things, just to try to keep that genetic flow going.
Is New Mexico doing studies now?
They are doing some studies that I know of. Nothing like huge, nothing real major.
Because you were trying to get one going, and you're.
I would like to, yeah. I think it's important to have numbers, and for me, one of the most important things is just knowing how many there are. Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that is because that's why California lost the bobcat hunting, because when it went to court, they said, how many bobcats are in the state of California? Well, you and I know there's thousands, tons.
Yes.
Way more than you ever need. But they didn't have a solid number. They didn't say this is our population estimate and this is the plus or minus. So they didn't know. And the judge said, till you guys know how many bobcats are in the state, hunting's closed.
And that's what they're trying to do here too. And Colorado Parks and Wildlife has done a really good job as best as they possibly could with the money that's available.
Right.
And so they're in the middle of they're in the third year of a 5-year bobcat study that I helped formulate all the way back in the day when Director Broshad was there, and they had the money at the time to do 1 or 2 years, and I said, don't do 1 or 2 years.
Right.
It doesn't do us any good.
Yep.
Give us multiple years. Give us some cycles for prey animals and for predator animals to be able to go through that to where you can actually put some numbers and hard evidence to it.
Right.
California has tried to do that on some things, but then they've dropped the ball on many things, just like other states. But now people in states are starting to pay more attention to the predator side.
Right.
About we need some more document. We need some more statistics. We need some more valued surveys and studies. Did you ever do any hound hunting on bears?
Very little. Very little. When I first started, and I go with the guys. They're on the ranch. I don't currently have any bear dogs. Got some young dogs that are hopefully make bear dogs. They're still too young right now. Hopefully by the end of the season, I'll have them on some bear. But we have a couple guys from Utah, Hunter Meek and Wade Hollerman. They come, and Colton Christensen come with them. They come do all our bear hunts for us. So I go along with them, help them any way they need help or whatever. It's exciting. It's a fun deal, but I haven't really done a whole lot of it.
Explain the difference and put it in layman's terms to where somebody like Becca or sitting and listening, you got dry land dogs
Mm-hmm.
and you got snow dogs and you got dogs that work both.
Right.
What makes up one or the other? I mean, just one's got a better nose, or they like doing it, or they're better in it, or what's the difference?
Usually, guys that hunt the dry ground want a little colder nose dog.
Colder nose, you mean?
Colder noses, then they can smell an older track.
Okay.
Not necessarily an older track. So one of the main things is scent is, as soon as scent hits the ground, it's going to start deteriorating. So the atmospheric conditions have a lot to do with it. The UV rays is the hardest thing on scent. Yep. Barometric pressure, it has an effect on how fast that scent is able to they call it off-gassing in the law enforcement world. All the moisture in the ground, or how dry it is, every little atmospheric condition has to do with, and soil conditions. You know, is it on clay? Is it in the rocks? What kind of rocks? All this stuff has to do with it. So guys shouldn't say, what I'm trying to get to is, it's not necessarily a older track, it's a weaker track, weaker scent. So they want a little bit colder dogs, a little bit more methodical, where that dog needs to really stay focused and stay closer to the track while he's working it. My dogs aren't really like that. My dogs hunt pretty wide and wild. But if they can smell that there's lion in this canyon, they're going to go do everything they can to find it. It's just totally different style from most of your dryland hunters. The scent, snow can be a plus or minus. When you get the freeze thaw, it can be every bit as tough as dry ground hunting.
Really?
Yeah, because you get that scent on the ground, it's the snow's thawed, and then overnight it freezes, and it's now the scent's in an ice cube. So sometimes you're better off to wait till later in the day when it starts to thaw back out to come run it again, you know. So it has its challenges. The easiest thing about hunting in the snow is finding a track. You know, you get fresh powder, you can drive down the road, find the track. You got a pretty dang good idea of how old that track is because you knew when it quit snowing. And you can see male, female, relatively easy, and decide whether you're going to turn dogs loose on that track or not.
Back up, and for the people that don't know, I mean, you and I are talking,
Yeah.
and I don't want to leave any stone unturned here.
Correct.
How do you tell the difference between the male and the female in the snow?
There's several things you can look at. The track size, or what we do in the science world is I actually carry calipers, and I can measure the width of that hind pad and have a pretty good idea if it's a male or female by how many millimeters that hind pad is. Stride length is another thing. You know, if you see scratches underneath a tree, there's different ways, but mostly it's track size and stride length. That's the easiest way to tell. Just, you know, not trying to be into the science. Like when we were doing research work, we would measure, when we found a track, we would measure the hind pad, especially if there was other known lions in that area, because I could tell you this female had a 47 millimeter hind pad, and this one's a 50 millimeter hind pad. 50 is usually the cutoff. If it's below that, it's probably a female or subadult. If it's above it, it's probably a tom. But you would actually be able to measure that hind pad, and I could tell you which female it was.
Real.
Or male, you know, and if it was collared or not. That was why we did it. We knew there was one with a 47 millimeter hind pad in this area that was collared. So if we found one that was 49, she probably wasn't collared. So we had to go after her. But just little things like that to tell the difference. And you can do it in the dirt just as well. But a lot of times if it's gravelly or rocky, you might go a long ways before you actually can verify that it's a lion track. You know, you might go a couple miles before you see the first track, and then you might be going backwards.
Yeah, might be going the opposite direction.
Which is usually my luck, right?
Yeah.
But no, so it's easier in that sense. You can cover more country faster in the snow, and tell male or female or kind of, you know, where it's going.
What do you say to somebody that mentions, and you hear it all the time, about kittens, about females with kittens, or about young that are out there on their own and do it? I mean, a responsible houndsman,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're doing a study or not, is interested in doing the exact right thing that needs to be done.
Correct.
And I say the responsible houndsman. There
Correct.
might be a bad guy, bad apple out there, but
There's everything.
there's a bad cop, there's a bad
Yep.
pastor, there's a bad doctor, there's a bad utility guy, whatever.
Mhm.
You can't qualify everybody in the category. And so what do you say when somebody turns around and says, "Well, what about kittens?"
Well, I can tell you this. Last year, I caught far fewer lions than I've caught in a long time. And the reason was I had two of my main canyons that are like a lion magnet. If there's a lion in that country, they're going to come through there. Each one of those canyons had at least one family group in it. And I mean small kittens. I didn't hunt them. I wasn't going to turn dog loose in that. Just for fear that kitten couldn't get up a tree fast enough. I didn't want my dogs catching that kitten on the ground. So I didn't hunt them. Just didn't. I'd go hunt other places. And I was a heck of a lot less productive. But it was more important for me that those kittens made it than it was for me to rack up numbers. So I just did other stuff.
Do you ever find yourself in a predicament where you just say, "I'm not going to do that," or "I'm not," and besides what you just explained, that there's no sense in turning the dogs out. You just let the dogs go somewhere else, do
Absolutely.
something for whatever reason.
Yep.
We've argued this stuff
Mhm.
in so many different levels. Not you and I, but
Right.
but what's the benefit of utilizing GPS tracking devices and training collars or restraining collars on hounds?
It's safety for everything. And that's really, it doesn't help me to catch the animal in any way. All it lets me know is where the dog is. Well, let's say I got a neighbor that doesn't like dogs, and that dog's going for their fence line. I can push that tone button. It sends a little beep, beep, beep to that dog's collar, and that dog's going to turn around and backtrack itself right back to me. So you're not going to get onto some disgruntled neighbor that shoots your dog. Or if they're going into some terrible bad bluffs, you can do the same thing. The other thing is, I know where that dog is almost all the time. And it's not full. You're getting, like in my country, I'm usually getting about 9/10 of a mile to a mile distance. If that dog gets further than that, I don't know where it's at, but I knew what direction it was going. I can leapfrog up there and pick it back up on that deal. But I know where the dogs are all the time, so I don't have to leave a dog out overnight. Mm-hmm. If they catch something in a bad place, okay, let me look at this thing, and it shows you some roads and stuff. Okay, here's how I need to go to get to that dog. But, back in the old days with the telemetry, the beep beep, you just knew it was a direction. You didn't really know how far. You could triangulate it and kind of get an idea of where it was. But there was a lot of dogs left out overnight because by the time you figured out where they were, it was getting dark, and it's too dangerous to go into that country in the dark. You're going to get hurt.
I don't know how New Mexico is, but Colorado is an example. We've got quota areas, and so what I always saw.
And I don't like that. I don't like the word quota. I decided the other day. I would like to start calling it harvest objective. And I'll tell you why. Because I think this is the professional wildlife. Your CDFW and all that stuff. They're the ones deciding how many of each animal needs to get taken off the landscape. So they actually, if they say 10 lion needs to be taken out of this unit or this zone, they want 10 taken out of there. Mm-hmm. So it should be an objective to take those 10 out of there in order to help the ecosystem. You're helping the ungulates, you're helping the lion population, you're helping all that stuff. So I don't know that calling it a quota is the perfect thing.
Good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's an objective. They want you to. Like I always say, we're the worker bees. The scientists go out and decide how many animals need to be taken off the landscape, whether it's sheep, elk, deer, whatever. They're giving us that number because that's what needs to be taken off the landscape to make a healthy ecosystem.
Maybe we need to have a talk with some people, and we need to turn around and change terminology on different things.
Yeah, I mean, terminology can It can make a difference, especially to somebody that's uneducated about hunting, which is what we're dealing with a lot of times.
And 90% of it.
Yeah.
Or 95% of it. Well, okay, so I'm going to back up. The area where there's different harvest objectives.
Right.
The training collars, the GPS collars, can turn around and tell if that animal, that your dog is going into pursuit of an animal in an area that's closed.
Correct.
Just like you're talking about the private property that doesn't want them on there.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a county road, or if it's drainage, or if it's a highway, which is the designated line between two particular areas where there's harvest objectives.
Right.
But that's a recall mechanism.
Yes.
To where you could turn around and go, no, that's hands off. We don't turn around and go that direction.
Yes.
Those things, that utilizing this stuff as tools,
Correct.
is not what our opposition is typically educated enough to understand.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, the majority of them don't want us doing it anyway. So whether we use tools or whether we don't use tools, they don't want us out there doing it.
Right.
Do you see an advancement over the last 10 or 15 years of your experience of running hounds, of how the tools have gotten better to be able to make better decisions for management purposes and for the safety of the dogs?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to back up too. You said roads, which is, breaks up the zones or units, but I can keep my dog off that road. Well, if I can't keep my dog off that road, and a family of 4 comes driving through there, 2 little kids in the back, and they swerve to miss the dog and wreck and kills them all, that sucks.
Yeah.
If I can tone that damn dog and bring them back, you're saving lives there, But yeah, as far as the health of the dogs, in so many ways, so many situations, I've called my dogs back. Like, you're not going to let them go into that country for whatever reason. Some people deal with wolves. They can tone them dogs. If they hear wolves, tone them dogs and get their butts back. But for the mountain lion or the bear or whatever that's brought to bay or tree or whatever, I can get to them so much faster. And I don't really think that matters a whole lot unless if it's a dangerous place, if they're on bluffs or something like that. But a treed lion or a treed bear, so many times you get there and they're just got their chin on the branch and they're asleep,
Well, and one thing too is what we argue during our campaign is these animals have been historically chased by something since the beginning of the time.
Yes.
Whether it's coyotes, or whether it's wolves, or whether it's bears against lions, or lions against bears, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
They're used to doing that. It's not like it's a torture chamber.
Nope.
Have anybody ever watched a house cat go up to a tree that the dog turned around and treed?
Right.
He goes up there and sits down and waits till the dog leaves, and then he turns around and comes back down. It's an evasion tactic that they can utilize. And there's nothing, that's just animal nature as anything. Just we're utilizing one of the oldest traits of pursuit with the utilization of dogs.
Exactly.
Man has domesticated dogs
right.
for the last 10,000 years for something, whether it's a herding animal, whether it's a pursuit animal, whether it's some sort of a guard animal.
Yep.
And I think that explaining to unknowing public, whether it's individuals like Becca that don't know, but maybe hopefully you're learning something out of this conversation today, and then she'll never want to come back into Bobby's studio when we're doing parties. But hopefully you do. If we can just give a little bit of information to a few people about the difference of what somebody's perception is. Now, if they don't like anything that we do, you're not going to change that perception. But if they're unknowing about it, maybe you can educate them to a point to where they have a generalization. Right. Most people don't know that all of the lion studies that are done in the United States that are effective utilize hounds.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. There's camera traps and snare hair samples and stuff.
And there's some, you can cage trap them.
Yeah.
We would utilize cage traps in areas where
hounds weren't practical.
Where it wasn't safe for the hounds or the lion or the human. Mm-hmm. So we would set up cage trap.
Exactly.
And was it successful? No. But
it's another tool in the toolbox.
Exactly.
Yeah, another tool in the toolbox. So give me an example. Let's say Shorty has not 14 dogs. Let's say Shorty has 8 dogs.
That's a way better number.
Let's say Shorty has 8 dogs. Give us an example of the total cost incurred into those 8 dogs with your accoutrements and your accessories and your collars and your dogs and the training. What does it cost to run 8 dogs to turn around and go eventually pursue a mountain lion, and I'm not talking about as an outfitter, I'm not talking about for a study, but just for you to have the tools to be able to be prepared to appropriately go do that?
Just in the tracking collars and the handheld unit that shows you, you're at $3,650 right there already. Probably
Total?
for eight collars and
8 collars.
and a
So you got $3,600 in collars.
yep, and then
You got dog boxes.
yep, your dog box is gonna run you probably $1,500, $2,000
Okay, so now we're at $5,100
for the most part.
You need
let's
new
see.
water.
I'm good on the water, thank you. Let's say it's about
You got a $40,000 truck.
yes.
Snowmobiles, 4-wheelers.
Your dog. Well, that's hang on.
It's an expensive venture.
You're talking about another $2,500 to $3,000 in dog food
per year
per year
for the 8 dogs,
for the 8 dogs,
not counting vet bills.
not counting vet bills.
It's just that
vaccines.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
fuel.
Fuel.
Fuel's a big deal.
Four-wheelers, $15,000 now. Side by sides, $25,000. Snowmobiles are.
Find me one for 25.
Yeah, and that's one that Whitaker's brothers rolled or something.
Exactly.
But the point is the venture of going out and pursuing these,
Right.
and doing it to the best of your ability,
Yeah.
and making the decision on when to finally turn around and selective harvest.
Right.
There's a minimum of 20 to as high as $80,000 or $100,000, and that's not for a guy that's making a living out of it.
Right.
That's a guy that's not an outfitter. That's somebody that just likes to turn around and go do it, and occasionally will harvest a lion. And if you talk to guys like Cody Lostro or guys like Seth Brandstetter, how many lions do they tree that they don't harvest?
Oh yeah.
And so and I want to emphasize, going back to what Cody had told you, 26 lions that first year.
Yeah.
How many did he harvest? If he harvested,
I don't know that he harvested one the first year.
yeah.
I if he did, I don't remember him harvesting one.
I think that those are things that we get into a conversation, and you just look and go, this isn't about the take. It's not about the harvest.
No.
It's about
The adventure and the dogs and
yes, and the passion that you have for dogs, and the passion that you have to be able to turn around and see the dogs. The dogs are doing what the dogs were meant and put on this earth to do.
correct.
It's just that you're helping to refine them by training them.
Right, exactly. And you're not having to teach them how to track and trail and do all that stuff. All you're teaching them to do is what not to do. Mm-hmm. Not to run deer, not to run coyotes, not to run elk, that stuff. The rest of it comes naturally to them. It's in their DNA. And the other thing I think is important to drive home is that the harvesting is not going to stop if they take lion hunting away.
It'll be killing.
It'll be killing and leaving them lay by government agencies on your taxpayer dollars, where we're willing to go out and do the same work and pay to do it. So taking hunting away is not going to stop killing. No,
and taking hunting away will. Why would you want to turn around and study? Why would you want to turn around and do it? Because if you have this idea that taking away the hunting side of it is going to fix all the problems, then why study it?
Right.
Exactly. I mean, if you're concerned about the well-being of wildlife and you have an American funding model like what we've talked about before,
right,
all of that goes into being able to sustainably manage wildlife species in perpetuity. And that's all wildlife species.
Correct.
And if you're not going to allow the harvest, whether it's an objective or whether it's just unlimited to some degree, even though that's all has objectives to it, then why worry about the science? Why worry about the study? Why worry about the end result? Because everything's going to be taken care of. You're going to rewild it. When there's no way to harvest, we turn around and ban it, we restrict it, we prohibit it to a point to where we don't have to worry about anybody going out there and attempting to try to kill it.
Right.
And so we don't need to study it.
Right.
There needs to be no other additional component because they're all going to self-manage, right?
Right. Well, and
they're all going to take care of themselves, right?
Yeah. Eventually, they might completely take care of themselves.
That's the issue,
and that's where if we weren't and don't think that like when you kill an animal, They take the tooth. They look at it. They look at the age. They can tell the age structure of that population by, and that's part of the you have to get a pelt tag, a CITES tag on a lion, and they're going to pull a tooth, and they're going to send that tooth in. Now they know the age structure of that population. Well, if it's getting too low or too high or whatever, they can make adjustments based on the data that they've collected over that. They're also cutting off part of the tongue and using it to collect DNA. So just because that lion was legally harvested doesn't mean they're not getting data off of them. So, it's the need for hunting is there. And, if you're not hunting or studying them, then all of a sudden, just like we're talking about Florida or California, the genetic diversity goes away. Well, who knew that? And then all of a sudden, they're dying off like flies because they get disease, and I don't remember what it's called when the testicles don't descend. All these bad things go to happening, and it wipes out your whole population before you knew it because nobody's out there that's interested. So
science is part of the bull riding, fight, or raising side of things.
Mhm.
I mean, they're genetically improving things through a breeding program, just like what you do with hounds.
Yep.
And scientists within agencies are attempting to try to do that on a wild species, but they're not captive. They can't check them every day. So there's got to be some checks and balances and some thresholds to make sure that they have what they have and it's sustainable, and that, like you were talking about, the DNA checking.
Right.
That is making sure that it's well beyond the current managers of today. It's going into the managers of tomorrow and beyond, to make sure that there's a consistent level pattern about how they're going to do what they're going to do and what they're trying to accomplish in that harvest objective.
Right.
That-
I got you trained already.
Well,
You learn fast.
yeah, because I've been doing stuff like military sporting rifle versus assault weapon, because
Right.
that's a misnomer,
Right.
or leg hold trap versus foothold trap, which is a misnomer.
Right.
So it's easy to turn around and correct
Right.
somebody
Sure.
when you're trying to turn around and get a point across.
Right.
We're gonna start to wrap some things up here. How far down the road, from your perspective, do you think that wildlife management can go before it's at a breaking point because of this ongoing animal rights extremism movement that you start to see, which I want to emphasize is still only about 3 or 4% of the entire general population,
Right.
but they're well funded. They got a squeaky wheel,
Yep.
and they want all of it to stop. It's not that they want Shorty to turn around and harvest one less lion in a different state,
Right.
or maybe harvest a less coyote or something. They don't want you to harvest any of it.
Yeah.
They don't want us to harvest any of it, period. Where's a breaking point from your perspective? Because you've worked in Florida, you worked in California, you're doing stuff in Texas, New Mexico, you've been in Colorado. Where's the breaking point we get to and we just say, okay, enough is enough?
I don't see it. But it goes back to that mentality from the arena, like winners win, and we're gonna win this. Cody Lostro and I, we talked about it, last time we were fighting this stuff, and there were some guys getting discouraged, and I don't know if we can pull this off. They got a lot of money and they got a lot of this, and Lostro and I are like, to hell with that. We're winning. And if we don't win, we're gonna have our asses knocked in the dirt because we're going down fighting. And I think we can win. And but it comes from educating people, and we got to do a better job of that. You've done a fantastic job, but I'm saying
I'm just one idiot.
we as in myself, I'm going to go back to rodeo. I remember it's been 30 years ago, 25 years ago. I was at a little rodeo down in Southern California and just got done taking care of the livestock and was going to go take a nap for the day. And this guy comes walking up to me and he's, "Hey, I just want to let you know I'm here with PETA. I'm going to be watching you guys." I said, "Hey, that's fine." I said, "I'm going to go back to the room, take a nap. I'll be out here about 2:30. If you'll show up then, I'll show you around, show you everything, and you can see it firsthand." So he showed up about 2:30, and I took him behind the buck and shoot, showed him how we were sorting the livestock, showed him the flank straps, told him anything he wanted to know, and he was behind the scenes the whole time. And when it was over, he came up to me and he said, "Shorty," he said, "I got to apologize." He said, "I was told to come here." He said, "I knew nothing about it, but they had me brainwashed." He said, "This is nothing what they told me it was. And I'm going to come back tomorrow. But I'm going to buy tickets for me and my family, and we're going to sit in the grandstands and enjoy a good show." And I've always remembered that. And I think throughout my career, because of that, I'd be riding on an airplane and take out a hunting book, and, some man or lady sitting next to you. Oh, you're a hunter, huh? Yeah, I am. And say, oh, you think it's right just to go kill things? Say, no. Can I explain a little to you about hunting? And I've explained to them that there was biologists that went to school, scientists went to school to study wildlife, and there was people that are out there studying the landscape, the shrubs and the grasses and all this stuff, and that they would go do, each state has their own people, and they would go do population estimates, counting, and this and that, and come up with a scientific method that they would suggest how many animals needed to be taken off the land, and then they would ask us to do it, and we're willing to pay to do it. And most of them don't know that the biologists are out there asking us to take those off the land. And a lot of times, your antis, that you're not going to change their mind, but they would be so interested then. And then you could have a conversation with them with how you hunt and this and that. And so I think the biggest thing is we need to keep talking. And the other thing is, I think we need to be proud of the fact that, well, I am at least, I'm a trophy hunter. And what I mean by trophy hunter is, let's say we've been talking about mountain lions. Well, most of your tom lions don't live to be 10 years old. And I haven't killed a lion that wasn't a livestock killer in a long, long time. But at 10 years old, that lion has already done his job. It's already prolificated, and he's got babies all over the place. Now, he's past doing the population any good as far as reproducing. But he's still taking up a hole. He's still eating ungulates that other lions could be eating if he wasn't on the landscape. And if I was to go home and catch him tomorrow and his teeth were wore with gums and he didn't look very good, I wouldn't be afraid to kill that lion. Now, who gets the trophy? The lion does. Because I just improved the lion population. I just improved the ecosystem. Just improves the whole landscape. So the trophy goes to the ecosystem, goes to the wildlife. So I don't think it's a bad thing.
And if you decide to save it, you immortalize that.
Correct.
To a point to where, and that's hard for people to understand. I often say it's hard for people to quantify that our intent is to go out and kill something.
Right.
But looking at Colorado statistics last year, during the campaign, 19% of the mountain lion hunters harvested a mountain lion. That was 81% that went out there and bought a license to pursue mountain lions that didn't harvest a mountain lion.
Yep.
Elk hunting in the state of Colorado, a 9% success rate. 91% of the people that go out and pursue elk do not harvest an elk. They're not successful, but they're paying for the opportunity to manage all those other wildlife in the process.
Right.
The deer hunting side of things, about 22% success rate, straight across the board, guided, unguided, private, public, does, bucks, late season, early season, muzzleload and archery, 22%. That means 78% of the people that aren't harvesting are applying the funding mechanism in to manage that species and all of the other species, because they don't just manage that off of the deer licenses.
Right.
They manage all species.
Yep.
Trying to get people to understand that.
Yeah.
If they can put aside their emotional perspective and look at the facts and the data, and then look at the information that's provided. I'll talk about bobcats really quick, because we're going to have to end up turning around and dealing with this as we speak. Cody and I are on a working group. We have to turn around and sit there this Thursday, the first meeting that we're having. 2,500 or 3,000 individual guys that buy small game licenses, fur bearing licenses, to possibly pursue a bobcat. 600 guys, 600, which is 25%, are harvesting 880 cats or 900 cats or whatever. The overwhelming majority of the people that pursue game are unsuccessful in their pursuit.
Right.
They might turn around and they might hunt 10 big game species in 3 different states, but they're probably only actually harvesting 2 or 3 of those 10 big game species. People need to understand that why we have what we have is because of what she heard us talk about on the previous podcast. The North American model of wildlife conservation and the American funding model that goes along with that is the best model in the world. It's trying to be emulated and duplicated.
Yep.
And you got something you're going to pop up here.
Yeah. I I can't remember the other guy's name that wrote it, and I should be ashamed of myself. But have you ever heard of Dr. Valerius Geist?
Yeah, I knew Valerius.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what an amazing man!
Yes.
And there's a couple podcasts. I think this is one of them.
He passed away several years ago.
Yes,
And he was actually one of the instrumental individuals that helped write the North American model.
exactly. And Shepherds of the Wild.
Yep.
Had him on. Great conversation. I'm trying to see what episode that is. Doesn't say, but it is from December 14th of 2020.
Yeah.
There was another one, but he talks about, have you ever heard him talk about predator pits?
Yes.
Man,
Yes.
people need to get on here and listen to him talk about predator pits. It's so important. And
Yeah, if anybody's interested, punch up Valerius Geist.
Yep.
And Predator Pits on the podcast and the stories that he tells.
The Hunting Collective, episode 79, predator pits.
Okay.
Man, it's intriguing. And this is, this guy, the biologist either loved him or hated him because he was pro management.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a very intriguing man, and you can get a lot of information off of him.
And his counterpart, Shane Mahoney, is
Shane Mahoney.
good. Yeah.
That is.
And so I know Shane personally. Matter of fact, we were just texting back and forth day before yesterday. And Shane and I struck a friendship. He was in Colorado and presented to the Partners in the Outdoor Conference that we helped support in 2022. But it's those sort of historical components that we can add into every single thing we're dealing with to make sure that when Becca decides to have kids, or she decides to turn around and get her hunter safety card and go hunting or something, then it's here.
Yep.
It's here. And even if you don't want to do it, you know that it's being done appropriately and scientifically, and it's being done for the betterment of the wildlife resources and the habitat that all the wildlife lives on.
Well, and I think that's important. Like, the antis want the same thing we want. We want wildlife on the landscape. We just believe in a different way of doing it than they do, which is tried and true. And they're basing theirs on emotion. And I think when you have conversations with somebody that may or may not be an anti, check your emotions out the door. Stay calm and talk, because as soon as you escalate things, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Just have a good conversation. You may not agree with when it's over.
You can agree to disagree. You just got to
Correct.
figure out how you turn around and live through that.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
would you be interested in coming back at some point in time? And if I ever get my studio set up at the house, which we're planning, then we can still do a Zoom deal, but you're more than welcome to come there too. But it'd be great to have you back if you're willing. Maybe not when there's heavy traffic on I-25 or anything. So
When is that going to be?
yeah. when rewilding has taken full effect.
Right, exactly.
So no, any final closing thoughts?
No, we got to just keep fighting. You're not fighting for your hunting rights. You're fighting for your kids and your grandkids, and we owe it to them to keep fighting and keep having those conversations, and we can win this. We just can't win it if we give up.
Shorty Gorham, thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity. Appreciate you coming up. We don't know each other that well, but I have a feeling that our paths will continue to cross as we move forward and traversing this landscape between New Mexico, Colorado, and the West. So you're an inspiration to all, and we appreciate your taking the time.
Appreciate you being here, and thank you for what you're doing, and I hope you keep doing it, because you've been a hell of a leader.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Through the Gates. For more content like this, make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe on all of our channels.